Hello, Jamie Radford.
Hello,
Thank
Sue.
you very much for joining me. So I'm joined today by Jamie Radford, who's the Chief Executive of the Accounts Payable Association. Thank you, Jamie. It's been a long time coming. We've talked about it for a while, so I'm delighted to have a conversation with you. So I'm just going to ease you in gently with some questions that you will know the answers to. So let's start with, when you were at school, what did you want to do and why?
Professional football. That's the answer everybody gives, Sue. As you can see from stature, I wasn't quite tall enough. But actually, my parents, my grandparents, all came from a bookkeeping and accountancy world.
Oh, wow.
So I always wanted to work with numbers. So actually, I did want to be an accountant. And it's only later on in life that I realised that I didn't want to be an accountant. But I love the numbers, I love the people. But that was it. Aspirationally, work with people, work with numbers. So bookkeeping and accountancy was actually the goal for me. So
How
very strange, I know.
Yeah. And who has had the most impact on you?
Personally, I would say it's probably my mother in terms of what she achieved. She is such a powerful female. She ran 2 businesses whilst managing 3 children, small children. And as I progressed through my career, I started very early on. I was a sort of an office junior when I started my career at the age of 16, 30 odd years ago. I'm not going to tell anybody how old I am, but 30 odd years ago. But when I started, I was taken under the wing by what was then a chief accountant.
Yeah.
Somebody took me under their wings and said, Jamie, if you want to be a qualified accountant, you want to have a career in finance, study hard, which I did, progress in terms of understanding businesses, processes and people, so learn management. So from a very early age, around 18, I was managing a team of people. Yeah. So a young guy now, if you think about 18 years, they're still at school for most people. Of
course. Yeah.
So for me, it was very, very early on. I had a very strong character in my mother, but also I had a chief accountant who was very strong. He was very old school in his approach to accountancy. So it was double entry bookkeeping. So I learned the hard way, which was very manual, none of these fancy computers and triple screens, all this good stuff today. But actually, it led me down that route of hard work, discipline, understanding the nature of that.
Yeah, and the discipline is interesting, isn't it? Because we talk about, the youngsters today are in education for much longer.
Absolutely.
They have to be. So, when I was in the same camp, what we learned at 16 onwards about you had to be somewhere at the right time.
Yeah.
There is a right and a wrong way of doing stuff. And if you get it wrong, someone's going to tell you and you've got to do it again.
Absolutely.
And I think that journey's become later for the youngsters now. It's interesting.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, sir, I think I have 3 children, and my eldest is just about to come out of school, into university, and he's coming into what I would consider into his working era now. And so I've tried to teach him, sort of the root of how hard work comes. But because of the era of technology and computers and all the good stuff that comes with it today, people tend to think there's shortcuts. There's not. It comes back to discipline, hard work.
Yeah.
Put the work in and get that foundation ready and right, and it pays dividends at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's Jamie.
That's me.
The office junior with the senior accountant looking after him.
Absolutely.
How did you get from there to here?
Well, it's nothing special in terms of a career, but I very much worked in the finance world for many years, so 30 odd years in finance. Progressed through my stripes in bookkeeping and accountancy. I worked for smaller SME type businesses for a while, and then decided that I wanted to go and manage people and process. So I moved into larger corporate environments, and I started to work for shared services. So as soon as I worked for shared service centres, wow, that was a different environment.
Game changer.
Absolutely, it was corporate. The people were a different level. There was more entities to deal with, so you weren't dealing with one account. You were dealing with 60, 70 companies, countries, whatever it will be. So for me personally, it was a real big eye-opener of an organisation in terms of structure what I was used to. But what it really showed me was that actually the core of all of these organisational work was managing good people, getting people to understand process systems, but also motivating them, making sure that they understand you as a leader, that it's not all about the tech skills they need, it's about their desire to work and what can they get in their careers. So very early on, I decided I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to earn my stripes, get the technical skills I needed to. So in the shared service centre world, I decided to progress through lots of areas. So I've managed receivables, payables, tax, every shared service centre function within a finance organisation I've managed, and ultimately the success of, I think, for my career has been quite adaptable. So
Yeah.
I love the people part. So as I progressed through and got to where I am today, it was purely based on, I always noticed there was an organisation that looked after every area of finance. So the wonderful world of CICM looked after the credit professionals of the world. Same with payroll. Same with sort of the accountants, with the CIMAs, the ACCAs, and all the like. But the payables world had absolutely nobody look after them. So I always had an aspiration to maybe help that organisation, those people that I started from in the early days of bookkeeping and purchase ledger and bought ledger. So where I am today was purely based out of the desire to go and help people, look at a group of people which we now consider payables professionals, and work out the stepping stones to go from corporate environment to business owner. And the steps really took, because of the background I had from a mother running businesses, I used some of those skills to sort of build what we now have, a really successful community of payables professionals, which we now clearly are the Accounts Payable Association.
So that leads me nicely on then. So the APA was born from that vision. So who are the APA and what do you do?
So we are the largest now. We are now, I can state this, we are now the largest payables organisation. But what we stand for is very similar to what you guys do at CICM. We do three things and we do them relatively well. We're a membership organisation. So we have members throughout the UK and Europe. We are a training organisation, so we train people in certifications, qualifications. We have accreditations. We have very similar products and services to what every chartered institute does in the finance space. And then the third part, which is probably the bit that we're very well known for, is our event schedule. So we do things like conferences, gala dinners, all those great things. So they're the three areas. But if I look at the heart of what we are, is very much about a membership community. We're a finance community full of passionate people who love the world they live in, the environment they live in.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And what are the hot topics in the accounts payable world?
Two things at the moment, as it stands today: payments and fraud. They're the two key areas at the moment. And if I do those in reverse order, so, and again, I'm guessing it overlaps into the credit world as well, Sue. So fraud on the rise, has been for many, many years. During that horrid time of the pandemic, that we saw a spike. We saw people highlighting where there was challenges, where people were working in different environments. Systems and tech had to catch up. So fraud is on the rise, but also fraud prevention. So people are finding new ways to prevent fraud, systems, process, people, etc. So we're trying to support our members in educating them what, who to go and look for and who to engage with, what organisation to engage with. So fraud, the payment side is challenging. It always has been. So there's new tech coming out in the payments world, but obviously we work along people like the Small Business Commissioner Office and government offices about helping smaller businesses get paid on time, but also having the payment culture, the want and need to pay people on time and having the cultural side. So payments is a really hot topic for us, but the fraud is always going to be a hot topic because of the challenge we face in our industry.
And it's getting cleverer and cleverer.
Absolutely.
I think most of us now, out on a personal level, know someone who has been a victim, and these are not ditzy, daft people. It's clever fraud now, isn't it?
It's almost like mimicking fraud now, and that's the problem with the rise of AI, and you can mimic voices and videos, and the challenge comes to, and again, if I take myself way back to when I sort of started my career, it's having the ability to put your hand up and go, this doesn't seem right. And that's what people have to have. They have to have the ability to stop something, a process, and go, you know what, this doesn't feel right. And that's why we teach and sort of monitor people and go, look, okay, you can have the systems, the flags, and all this good stuff that comes in. You've got to think. It's the people make the difference here.
Yeah.
So if you think something odd, don't worry if the CFO, the FD, or whoever's going to sort of shout you didn't make that payment. Stop it. Make sure you have the ability, put your hand up and say something doesn't feel right here. So we're educating, but we're also informing people and giving them the ability to put their hand up and go, look, I know I might be in trouble for not making the payment, but something doesn't feel right here at all.
Yes, it's fascinating times. So as the Chartered Institute of Credit Management, we're obviously supporting credit management, collections, debt recovery professionals. members, clients, and the wider industry. Accounts Payable Association doing a similar thing for accounts payable professionals. What benefits do you think we could provide if we did something together? Feels like an exciting opportunity.
It does, absolutely, Sue. And I know that if you look at, I mean, we coined the phrase two sides of the same coin, if you like. So your organisation help credit professionals in terms of everything from training, advisory, best practice, all the good stuff that you do, and you do an amazing job of that. Our side is the opposite. And both sides of the coin want to do the same job.
Yeah.
One wants to collect and one wants to pay. What gets involved in the middle is something people, process and tech, and then people not following processes, which then make both our lives an absolute misery. So I think what we could do is it's the educational part between us. I think there's lots of educational things we can do. There's ideas around forums, events, there's podcasts, just like we're doing today, where we go out and we educate the two sides of the two organizations, but actually collectively, we go and educate businesses on the best way. So why is it they need to follow a credit process? Why is it they need to follow a payables process? If we can manage to do that, Sue, we'll change the world.
So this feels like a ... and watch this space, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, Jamie, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks for your time today, Sue. Thank you.